What if a secret number from the recent past of XRP could lead to a price in the future that sounds too good to be true? We're not talking about hopeless theory or blind hope. We're talking about a cold, hard mathematical repeat, a multiplier that was so strong that it turned a small amount of cash into a huge wave that shook the market. As Wall Street gets ready to pour what they think will be $5 billion into XRP through newly approved ETFs, this number that no one remembers could be the key to everything. It's time to put emotions aside and let the numbers tell a story that not many people want to hear after a month of price drops and consolidation that didn't move the market. A story that makes me think that XRP's market cap could grow by 883 times. It has happened before, and the trail of destruction it left is truly amazing. A whisper starts it all, and it's becoming a roar in the business world. You may have already seen the video that went viral. It shows the CEO of Canary Capital being incredibly honest on the Paul Barron network. He didn't just say that XRP ETFs were on the way. He put a huge figure on their first performance. He said that $5 billion would come in right away, which is a huge amount of money. This isn't just a guess, though. This quote comes from a person who works and lives on Wall Street and knows how institutional hunger is growing behind the scenes. He went even further and said something brave that many people would think was crazy, that the need for an XRP ETF might be greater than the need for an Ethereum ETF. The odds on the poly market for an XRP ETF approval are currently around 86%. The real question is now when, and more importantly, what happens on the first day. The CEO is adamant in his belief that XRP is, after Bitcoin, the most well-known digital currency in the world of high finance. That $5 billion number isn't just a number. It's a statement that the idea will soon be accepted by institutions. Before we can figure out what a $5 billion increase might mean, we need to look at what has happened in the past. Let's look back in time to a time when XRP saw a similar rise in interest during FOMO. Where are we going? November 2024. This month was a real mess. With Trump's win, the political scene had just changed and investors rushed into the markets, with XRP being one of the strongest performers. It wasn't a slow, steady climb. The gathering was very tense and full of energy. It's the best place to test how XRP's market cap changes when there is a lot of buying pressure. I looked into the numbers from CoinGlass, which keeps very accurate records of total net flows every week. It's important to remember that the CEO of Canary Capital forecasts $5 billion in inflows, not net flows. Net flow is the difference between how much money comes in and how much money goes out. His guess is based on the raw buying pressure. In order to make a fair and modest comparison, I looked at the net flows from November 2024, which was a very busy month with both huge inflows and outflows. That which the November data showed was nothing short of amazing. It made the parts of a huge price increase clear. Let's take it 1 week at a time. There was a healthy net flow of $99.5 million into XRP in the week ending November 10th. It was getting hot in the market. The next week, finishing November 17th, there was a change with a net outflow of $67.17 million as traders cashed out their gains. This is how an unpredictable market naturally rises and falls. The real boom happened in the week ending November 24th, when net imports of a staggering $254 million happened. In the last week of our study, which ended on December 1st, more people took their profits, sending $167.49 million out of the market. After adding up all the spikes and dips, the net flow for those 4 weeks was a fairly low $118.89 million. Remember that number now. A net investment of just under $119 million over the course of a month. You would expect the price to go up by a fair amount, right? Instead, an earthquake took place. Even though only $118.89 million in net new capital joined the ecosystem in those 4 weeks, XRP's market capitalization did something truly amazing. It went from about $28 billion to a high point of about $134 billion. That's an increase of $105.9 billion in the market value. Take that in. A value gain of over $105 billion was caused by a net input of just under $119 million. There is a secret ratio that controls XRP's huge potential that we will find here. We do an easy math problem to find our multiplier. We take the total gain in market value and divide it by the net flow of money that made it happen. We split the sum of $105,000 and $90,000 by $118,890,000. The answer is 883.9, which is a number that doesn't make much sense. Just to be safe, we'll round down to 883. That means the market value went up by 883 for every net dollar that came into XRP during that crazy month. This isn't a one-day event caused by a tweet. This multiplier is based on a month of real-world trade, which makes it a very strong and interesting piece of data. We now use this 883x multiplier that has been used successfully in the past to look at the forecast from the Canary Capital CEO. He thinks that $5 billion will come into the ETFs in the first month. Let us do the math and see what comes up. To get our 883x number, we increase that $5 billion number by 8. The result is a number that is so out of this world that it makes you rethink everything that is possible. The most that XRP could be worth on the market is $4.415 billion. That's $4.415 billion. It's not a mistake. This is what happened when you put together a plausible, expert-backed prediction of institutional demand with a market response that has been seen in the past. What does a market cap of $4.4 trillion mean in terms of the value of a single coin? For the sake of simplicity, let's say there are about 60 billion XRP in circulation. This leads to an amazing number, about $73 for every XRP. Based on this calculation, the price goals in the double digits that many people have been hoping for might not only be possible, but they might even be an understatement of what's to come. Of course, a number that big makes you wonder. Let us play the role of the bad guy. What if what happened in November 2024 was a perfect storm, something that will never happen again with that much force? What if we need to hold back more? Okay, we need to cut the factor in half. Let's use 441x instead of 883x. When you add this much smaller multiplier to the $5 billion inflow, the price goal for XRP is still somewhere between $35 and $40. Still not enough of a conservative? Let's only use a third of the multiplier's strength. Even so, the math still points to an XRP price of $20 to $30, which has been my personal base case for the year after the ETF start.